Hello, everyone. Are we live? This is exciting. Hope you're all well. Hope this is working. Got no idea, to be honest. And you've got a very low view of my chin, which I'm sure is study. Should have done that beforehand anyway. Welcome to my study. Hope you're all well. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which I'm sure you're aware of has been around for a while. Welcome to a new season. We did our first press conference with Daniel Farker this lunchtime, which was very normal, or the new normal. Obviously, we did it via Zoom. I assume Daniel was at Colney with a new fangled background. Always interesting start to the season, and so that's all good. And the updates and that are on Twitter, and I'm sure we will discuss things. I'm just completely making all this up. Away we go. I decided on a little schedule for various video content over the course of what a normal week is going to look like. I wanted to make sure that I did a live interaction kind of video on each of my platforms. I might get 3 weeks into the new season and realize I'm absolutely fried. This is stupid. But let's try it. Let's see how we get on. I think it's nice for me to do things that maybe aren't just a video verdict after each game, and to have that reaction and interaction. So the key thing, of course, is any questions you want to ask, anything you want to discuss, fire them away, and I'll bring them up. You can talk amongst yourselves if you wish, of course. Presumably there's the chat feature, do whichever, and I'll do my best to be insightful and offer my best opinions and knowledge to you all. So I'm looking to do this probably on a Friday afternoon generally. We'd normally have a press conference on a Friday lunchtime, so 4:30 on a Friday seems pretty good. Let me know if it doesn't work or doesn't suit you, or if it does, and I'll try and flag up when I'm doing it. I'm also hopefully going to do a live on my Facebook page during the week. I would also plan to do a Periscope and an Instagram live probably around games, so maybe one before, one after. So, and of course I'll still be doing video verdicts on the Ball podcast. We're hopefully going to do some video content that will end up on the channels as well, and maybe a Monday Mardle. I've tried to do that in the past, and hopefully that will stick as well. So yes, any feedback though, any ideas, anything you want to see covered or whichever, let me know and I will do my best, because in the middle of all this I do have to try and write a load of really good stuff. So there we go. Ask your questions. I can see them popping up. Keep them coming and I will go through them in a tickle. We're probably going to be about 20 minutes. We're not going to be really long. It's my mother-in-law's birthday today. Happy birthday, Jill. I'm saying this to you. She's actually downstairs. But we're going to go out for some nice food. The Black Horse on Earlham Road, which by the way is tops. So really looking forward to that because I'm hungry. But you don't need to know that. Get your questions in. As I said, press conference earlier. I don't think there was anything much really that we don't already know from that, to be honest. I know there's an elephant in the room. I haven't brought him up yet, but I will. Quite interesting though that I thought just Daniel Farker confirming that Grant Hanley is out for probably a couple more weeks. But Sam Byram is out for another month or two, so it does make me think that he's going to be struggling to be back in October, which would of course be a big blow. Norwich got a lot of fullbacks at the moment, but they've got to figure that out, and they are certainly well protected in terms of injuries and in terms of sales. I would say there's probably not many scenarios now where they would have to go out and buy someone if they sold, and those scenarios will probably come from selling several different players at the same time. So we will see. More of an issue perhaps is that Norwich do actually probably need to recoup a little bit of money because they've clearly gone out to buy ahead of what they're doing. So buying before they sell, which is grand, but does leave them in a curious position. Obviously, with a huge squad, 33 players I've got on my own personal first team list. So that's 33 players in the first team group, and one, of course, possibly to come in, as you may well know and have seen that I am, well, as far as I'm concerned, the Ben Gibson move is done. So he will be a Norwich City player. It's just a question when it will get confirmed and rubber stamped. I do think Norwich were trying to get it done in time for him to be registered to play tomorrow, but I don't know if they achieve that. And maybe that won't be the case. So we'll sort of see how that one pans out. So I'm just trying to get the live chat on my laptop so it saves me a little bit of hassle. And there it is. So yeah, we will see. Obviously, it would be in Norwich's interest to get Ben Gibson integrated into the group as quickly as possible. But if not, he won't be. He'll be around the place. It is a loan move. There is going to be an obligation that if Norwich go up, they will buy him, and that will be where you'll have seen the deal that is potentially worth £8 million. Bearing in mind the most they spent since Stuart Webber arrived at the club, which was April 2017, was on Grant Hanley for £3 million, I think that was, once it bottomed out. So a huge, and no, they hadn't spent any more than that on any player. So that's obviously a huge jump, and that includes anyone this window as well. So again, it's a big jump this window. It's a statement signing. It's a big deal, and it's going to keep Daniel Farke busy trying to keep all of these players happy. Well, he won't. I can tell you now, it's going to be physically impossible. So there we go. That's exciting, and I expect that will get confirmed as and when. And of course, we've got Luton in the Carabao Cup tomorrow, 3:00 kickoff. As far as I remember, it'll be nice to get away to a game. It'll be interesting how it compares to the perfectly organised world of the Premier League in Project Restart. It's going to be quite different going into a Carabao Cup game. Never mind the Championship, which of course starts next weekend for Norwich City at Huddersfield. Keep your questions coming in because I'll rattle through a few of them. I can see a few. I'll go through them in a tickle. The other thing I did want to just mention, for those of you who subscribe and listen to the On The Ball podcast, thank you very much. Really excited that Dan Brigham, former Norwich City programme editor, of course, and John Rogers, him off of Big Grant Holt, Common People and Funny Man, are both going to be part of our regular crew of guests on the podcast this season, which is really exciting. We were going to record our first one on Monday, but my Wi-Fi entirely let me down at about 3 or 4 attempts, so we decided to cut our losses. We will do our first one on Monday, so keep an eye out on Twitter for that, and I'll make sure that we answer any of your questions. We've got some really exciting, fun features and community builders to get involved with on that, and you'll hopefully see videos on here of that. That is, as far as my little list goes, the top half of the list. That's exciting, which means I can answer some questions. Given we're 7 minutes in, it's probably a bit late. Thank you for them. Thank you for watching. I do really appreciate it, because I just imagined there was a potential here to just sit and talk to myself, which I'm well aware I have done for the first 8 minutes. It's Eleanor. Hello, Michael. Looking forward to this. Good. Getting that pre-season excitement. Well, I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you, Eleanor. And thank you, Maureen and John White. I hope you're both watching. It's nice to be back, and it'll be nice, as I said, I'm going to try and do these each Friday afternoon around this time, so keep an eye out, and we'll try and make it a regular thing, as well as doing other videos on other channels. It'll only be about 20 minutes, so I won't keep you too long. BB25 AM. Well, yeah, 20 to 5 PM. Hey MB, any knowledge of Max to PSG? Well, look, no. No one's put in any kind of concrete offers for Max Aarons yet. He's been linked with Bayern Munich and PSG this window. That's all I'm going to say there. I think you're going to have a lot of people trying to get busy with what happens to these players, which you can understand. It's probably in the agent's interest to try and do some business. The interesting thing I found about the transfer window, and this, basically we're dealing with Norwich exits now, because as far as I'm concerned, as I said, they've done all their business in, apart from the one that's to be confirmed. But I do think Norwich have got to try and there's an element now of there's a lot of the window to go, a lot of time, a lot of football to be played whilst the window is open. So it's perfectly reasonable that these players, someone could put a bid in when they really feel desperate or the moment's right, and then Norwich can make a decision without it having any pressure on them having to find a replacement, which is it's quite savvy, but it's, providing it works out, it is anyway. It's a tricky one to balance right now, and of course Norwich are top heavy with all their players, and obviously will Norwich have to play these players to make sure that they're still in people's thoughts? I mean, I don't really see Max Aarons, Jamal Lewis not starting, or Ben Godfrey really, although centre back will of course be very interesting. With whoever's fit once the season starts. Norwich could do with beating Luton so they stay in the cup and make sure they've got plenty of games to give people plenty of pitch time. I think that makes sense. But I would be surprised if Max Aarons ended up at PSG, put it like that, but we probably all would. Jason Stiles, hello Jason. Hi Michael, do you think Emmy will have to play his way back into the side after his suspension now that we have more options in the attacking third? Well, look, that's how Daniel Farke has operated pretty much exclusively as Norwich manager. If someone's wearing the shirt and they're doing well enough, they will keep it. Whether he can sustain that with the size of the group next season is a really tricky one. Emmy is still a special player. At Championship level, in the right frame of mind, you would just blow. We've seen him blow things away, and I have to say, Emmy is one of those who I probably would make an effort to keep happy. So if you could throw him in and he was doing well, then I think that would be a real benefit. So yes, as far as I'm concerned, I would get Emmy back in that team as soon as he's fit. And to be fair to Daniel Farke, that is generally what he's done with Emmy as well in the past. Alan Montgomery, hello Alan. Good day to you. Which player from our season can you see upping their game after seeing their replacement come in? The Farman effect, I love it. That's exactly what it was. Ralph Farman's loan was only a failure for him personally, I think. To me, I would, having looked at pre-season, which is a difficult one to judge, Teemu Pukki seemed to have a real bit between his teeth, which I can only assume is from Jordan Hugill coming in. So I think that could be the really crucial one as well. That's probably the only one so far, I would say, because I think Oliver Skipp's got it in him to overtake Alex Tettey. And how the likes of Ben Godfrey and Christoph Zimmermann and Tim Closer might react to Ben Gibson coming in will be really interesting. And we haven't seen much of Jamal, obviously, and Max, I think, has been a very good player for a very long time, so I don't think it's really an issue for him, to be honest. So that's how I would see that. Uncle Mort, cannot get excited over Gibson, did not impress me as anything special when he was at Middlesbrough. I mean, he hasn't played much football, which is a really interesting point. There's a great story on The Athletic about what happened to Ben Gibson, why Burnley spent so much money on him yet he basically didn't play. You should read that. We're putting together our best 11, and I'm not going to give away any secrets on it for the new season, that is. But you know, it's a debate in my head. Do I put Ben Gibson in because I haven't seen him play in the last 2-3 years? Not many people have. Certainly 2 years, I think it is, since 2018. So you know, a part of me thinks that he would go straight into that best 11 because of his pedigree and what he's done and his reputation. But without seeing him play now, I can realistically put him ahead of, say, Ben Godfrey or Christoph Zimmermann or even Tim Closer. It probably wouldn't be fair. So, but will he be in the long run? That's a very different question, of course, to answer. Chris Rose, hi Michael. Hello Chris, and thank you for your kind words. We appreciate that. So many players in. Which players will be sold during the transfer window? I don't know. And I've said this for months. Everything comes down to someone wanting a player and being willing to offer the amount of money Norwich would accept. So Liverpool coming in for Jamal Lewis, if you'd have said that at the start of the summer or at the end of last season, you'd have gone, well, then Jamal's leaving, isn't he? But it says a lot that Norwich didn't accept what was not a lot of money really, relatively speaking. Just remember, Ben Chilwell's just gone for £50 million. So, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that Jamal Lewis is anywhere near that level because he's clearly not. But, you know, he's a full international for Northern Ireland. He's young. And he's worth more than 8 million as an initial fee. That's the reality of it. And so I saw someone make a really good point about his sell-on. You know, what's the sell-on value when you're at Liverpool from then on? You know, Norwich couldn't really cash in on that either. So, so it's going to depend who wants them and how much for. And that might come down to if Norwich have done a bit to sort of damage, because by bringing so many players in, there is a possibility that the value that Norwich will get will come down slightly because there's a perception Norwich don't need them. It's a really difficult balancing act, that one, especially if they're then not involved in the Championship. So are these players going to have to play just to keep their value up? I don't know. So with, Todd Cantwell, it's an interesting one there. But again, it will depend on who the clubs are coming in and how much they want them for, and then where Norwich rank that, because they will try and protect future value for other players as well. So there's a lot going on, but Norwich probably, I don't know, I think they probably need to get some money in, certainly this window or January. But I think some players will go out on loan, some of the younger ones, if if all these players stay around. So I've got about 5 minutes. Get your questions in. I'm going to rattle through them all as expected. I've rattled on, and this is going to go on too long. And as I said earlier, I'm going out for my mother-in-law's birthday dinner tonight, which I'm very excited about. The Norfolk boy, hope that was the name you were baptised or christened with. Watching from North Carolina. Glad you're looking forward to the new season. I hope the weather's nice in North Carolina. Charlotte was always my soft spot for basketball in the NBA. George Wilson, pleased to see that Gibson looks to coming through the door shortly. Do you think he's brought in to ensure we've covered should Godfrey leave? Or do you think we'll go with 5 centre-backs? Well, I think they're prepared to go with 5 centre-backs. I think they're genuinely prepared to have a massive squad. And, fair play. There's a lot of games in the Championship, and as happened last season, and as Daniel mentioned earlier, you can lose 3 to injury, and all of a sudden you've only got 2. And that happened a lot last year. So I think they're prepared to go with 5. But yes, essentially, every signing you've seen Norwich make this summer is so that if someone comes in with an offer, they can sell him if they want to, and they don't have to scrabble around for a replacement retrospectively. It's a remarkable way of doing it. Says a lot for Norwich's parachute payments. Does also say that they kind of do need to sell some players. It's just sort of balancing when the pressure and the value is of doing that. It's interesting though. Canary Sam, do you think Ben Godfrey would be best deployed as a central defensive midfielder? I don't think he has the positional awareness or discipline to play centre half, and looks excellent striding forward with ball at feet. So that is definitely one of Ben Godfrey's strong points. I have to say, having continually watched Ben in pre-season and of course the end of last season, you can see, I actually genuinely think this, another season playing Championship football at centre-back, which is a position he's only played last season in the Premier League and then half of the season before in the Championship. He needs that time to continue to learn the position. I genuinely think that. I don't think it would be to his detriment if he played another season in the Championship, but at centre-half. Emmy, he doesn't need to play another season in the Championship, I personally feel. But with Ben, I think he could really benefit from that. I think it's a really good thing if no one comes in for him. Will he play as a holding midfielder? No. I've promised Ben Godfrey I will never ask him that question because he's sick of me asking him that question and he doesn't want to have to move positions again. And I think Daniel Farke only sees him as a centre half as well. So that question is off limits. It's not going to happen as far as I'm concerned unless another manager comes in. And I'll let someone else ask that question because I promised Ben I won't ask him. So there we go. Eleanor, again, your dad said he went to Luton in the League Cup after City won the Cup in 1985. He reckoned they played not on grass but some sort of AstroTurf. Really, is he making it up? Eleanor, he is exactly right. How dare you doubt your dad? Yes, Luton used to play on an artificial pitch. There were a few teams that used to do this in the 80s. I think Queen's Park Rangers were one. Kenilworth Road was it was like that old AstroTurf, like you play hockey on. Horrible. Not like the 3G surfaces you get now. So yeah, horrible place to go and play football. Obviously, a lot of that is still there, and it's still Luton. Norfolk boy, have you any idea of the work permit problems with Soto? So yes, I think there was an issue with Sebastian Soto that when he arrived, because he hadn't played enough first team football, it would be tricky to get a work permit for him. I think Norwich actually managed to register him in a short window when the last season would have ended, but it hadn't actually finished. So as Norwich were a Premier League club still at that time, I think they were able to register Soto as their player then, which, because they were a Premier League club, meant that getting a work permit wasn't such an issue. The fact that he's gone out on loan somewhere else, I don't think is any kind of bearing on it. He wasn't going to be ready for first team football, so he's gone away to get some first team football somewhere else, and then we'll see where he is next year. But yes, I think Norwich got around that by not being relegated in time. BB28AM, I think we have the strongest squad in the league and can and should achieve automatic promotion. What are your thoughts and what does everyone else think? I did the Canary cast. God, I hope I said that right. You know when you read something and you never actually say it out loud. Podcast. The boys are brilliant, by the way. You should go and watch it. It's great fun. Me and Chris Reeve from Talk Norwich City were on it as well. Obviously, Chris is a good lad as well. TNC boys do some brilliant work. It's good being on there. They asked me for a prediction, and I told them that I think with the squad, and I'm repeating it now, Norwich should win the division, and they should, because Daniel Farke has done it before. They know what it takes. It was only 2 years ago. The division's probably weaker than it was 2 years ago. The circumstances are obviously a little bit weird, and Norwich's squad in general is more experienced, has more baggage. but is still packed with quality and huge amounts of cover as it stands. Even if they lost 2 or 3, I think they'd be okay. So yeah, I'm putting the pressure on this year. I think I gave them a bit of leeway last year because it was pretty awful, but we all know what the caveats were. So this year, I think, is the payoff. And as far as I'm concerned, the expectation is that they should go straight back up. And we'll see. As I've also said lots of times, the 16-year-old me is punching me in the face when I say that, saying, you know what the champion's about, you idiot. It's not that straightforward. And they're exactly right. Uncle Mort, no injury news on Mayo from Presser. Shamey was injured during pre-season and never got a chance. Yes, that was an oversight. Apologies on my part. I didn't ask him. We did speak to him in Germany about it, and he had a thigh. So we haven't had an update on his thigh injury because it was scanned. I'm guessing with thighs, they do tend to be several weeks anyway. So even if they're not that bad, it is a shame because with Alex Tettey having to cover at centre back, it could have been a good chance for him to get some games. But there's a bit of me that thinks that Daniel Farke didn't mind giving Alex Tettey that time at that position, and I think there's also a feeling that Alex Tettey could play there in the Championship, and so I don't think they're so worried about that. But for Akin himself, yeah, it's a real shame, and you kind of feel with Ben Gibson coming in that a loan move to get some real games somewhere, because he did well at St Mirren, and maybe a move back there is on the cards. I don't know, but you feel like he could really benefit from that as long as he's playing football. I think it's probably a crucial time in his development for that. And CDN Indexer, we'll make this the last question for May because I only said it'd be 20 minutes. There's 2 actually, because I'll answer you, Jason, as well. CDN Indexer, do you think that Farke has become tactically more flexible after the PL experience? I mean, we can only hope. That's harsh, isn't it? Look, I think there were lots of caveats that went around last year. That question we might not be able to answer until we get to any sort of possible promotion and then Norwich going back to the Premier League. We know that the Premier League is much more demanding tactically than the Championship. Alec Neil used to say that as well. In a way, I don't think it was the tactical flexibility, if I'm being honest. I think the issue you had is he couldn't get the players to do what he wanted to well enough for that level, and I think then their confidence sort of collapsed around them. So the idea will be that they will have better players who are able to do it when they go back up, and hopefully there'll be an investment of a different level when they get promoted, if they get promoted. Again, we will see. But, it will be all eyes on Daniel, and I have to say one thing I am looking for them to do is improve defensively this year on where they were 2 years ago. I want to see them score as many goals as last time, but I also want to see them concede fewer. So I'm asking a lot, as I've said, but I think the expectations need to be that high, to be honest. I think that they've earned the position, though they've been so good. And obviously last year was so difficult that I think asking that expectation of them is fair. But I will only judge them fairly across the whole of the season. The goal is what the goal is, but it's then about how they do it each week. And we will see. Remember that they had a stodgy start 2 years ago and still won the division. But I think for the mood, a good start would be very beneficial. Jason Stiles, who's the band behind me? That is Pink Floyd. That poster is from the 1973 recording of Dark Side of the Moon. Probably the greatest album of all time, ever. Put to music, or put to vinyl, or recorded, whichever. Yes, my dad was very fond of Pink Floyd and got to see them live. I have got to see them live, where there were still 3 of them anyway. So yeah, very close to my heart, Pink Floyd. And BB28, 25 AM with the really important question, have you sorted your driving licence yet? Well, it was still valid. It wasn't my fault that the German authorities decided that the UK extension didn't count in Germany. But while I was sat in Enterprise sweating over whether I would or would not get a car, the answer of course being that I couldn't, I did send off for my renewed driving licence. It hasn't arrived yet, but they said it would take 2 weeks, one of which has now passed. I'll let you know when the driving licence arrives. What a success that was. Thank you so much for all your questions. Just a couple of bits for me to tidy up, if I may. Adrian Forbes. I went and saw Adrian Forbes at Luton back in March, before lockdown, really early in the month. Brilliant catching up with him, speaking to him at Luton's training ground. So much happened to him since. He ended up in the first team. He ended up helping Nathan Jones keep Luton in the division, basically, as one of his first team coaches. He was there celebrating on the touchline when 2 own goals helped them win the last game of the season that kept them in the division. And of course now they not only host Norwich in the Carabao Cup in the first competitive game of the season, but they're also sharing the division with them. You should read that on The Athletic, theathletic.co.uk. If you haven't got a subscription, there's a code for a free trial down in the notes as well. Take it up just for a bit if you wish to read it, but great insight. And I do love Forbes, he's great to chat to. There's also my nomination for Breakthrough Act of this coming Norwich City season, which is Adam Eder. It's not really a breakthrough act maybe per se, because we already know who he is, but I don't think you'll see anyone coming from nowhere to suddenly emerge in Norwich City's squad this season. It doesn't really work like that under Daniel Farke. Adam Eder has some great competition this season, but he's also got some great ability, and he's already made his Ireland debut this season for the full Ireland side. So fantastic start to what could be a brilliant season for him, because I think with that bit of extra flexibility he's got coming in off the left as well, that I think Daniel Farke really likes. I think he could have all sorts of impact on the team this season. I've written here 2 to 3 bits at the moment, and I have no idea what that means. I've said to plug The Athletic. I think I've done that enough. Thank you all for subscribing if you do. If you don't, it's fine. Enjoy what I'm doing, and if the moment comes where you feel like you want to, go for it. It's just brilliant. I'm so proud to work for them. So much great content from my colleagues. It's far and away not about me, but I'm just really pleased that I work for them, I have to say. I can't remember what 2 to 3 bits at the moment. Oh yes, I'm working on 2 to 3 bits at the moment, one of which I should probably be writing at the moment right now, but I thought we'd do a video. So yeah, but there's some really exciting stuff coming up. I've got a couple of really good interviews and a feature as well for next week, all ahead of the Championship season, which of course starts at Huddersfield next season. Thank you for your lovely messages. If you liked this, we can make it a regular Friday thing, probably about 4:30 regularly on Fridays here on my YouTube channel. And of course I'll have a video verdict for you after the game on Saturday. I aim to do a Monday Mardle, which will just be me chatting at you for 5 minutes on Monday. Would make sense. Hopefully we'll have some On The Ball podcast clippage for you as well later in the week. Remember, you can listen to that. It's free for everyone to listen to. Just look at your normal podcast players. On The Ball will be there. And yeah, I'll probably do a live on the other channels, but this will be where we are on YouTube. I am now officially rambling. Thank you all so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you here for another Q&A debrief this time next week. Have fun! Now I'm going to work out how to turn this off and stop it recording. And of course, Joe, yes, I'm pretty sure it'll stay up here. It'll just stay on the feed, so don't worry, you won't be going anywhere. You can watch it back. Just remember, I did record it live. I'll figure out how to turn this off, and once I do, I will go. But yes, I'll let you, maybe next week I'll let you know how the meal was at the Black Horse. It'll be awesome. Happy birthday again, Jill. See ya. Here we go. I'm ending